Good afternoon and welcome to the Sustainable Materials Management Webinar Series, a joint effort between the National Recycling Coalition and the Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center. My name is Wayne Bowen and I am the Program Manager for the Center and will serve as your moderator today. We would like to extend a special thanks to Bob Hollis of the Mobius Network for providing the webinar management software for this series, and Lisa Ruggiero of the National Recycling Coalition for providing immediate technical support. Today's webinar focus will be on mattress recycling. Our presenters today are Ryan Trainer and Chris Hudgins, who I'll introduce in a moment. Following the presentations, we will conduct a question and answer session. If you do have a question or comment, please use the GoToWebinar dialog box located in the control panel on your screen. You may also use the dialog box to request assistance if you are experiencing technical difficulties during the webinar. Please note that an edited version of this webinar will be made available for viewing via YouTube links on the National Recycling Coalition and Pennsylvania Recycling Market Center websites. And now I'd like to introduce our presenters. Ryan Trainer is president of the International Sleep Products Association, headquartered in Alexandria, Virginia. Working with mattress manufacturers and suppliers of components and services to the mattress industry, the association seeks to enhance the growth, profitability, and stature of the mattress industry. Prior to joining ISPA, Mr. Trainer was partner in the Washington, D.C. office of Clifford Chance. Mr. Trainer is a graduate of the University of Colorado and received his law degree from George Washington University. While in private practice, he specialized in product liability, international regulatory, consumer privacy, and commercial matters. Mr. Trainer is also president of the Mattress Recycling Council, a nonprofit corporation that ISPA established in 2013 to implement recycling laws enacted in California, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Christopher Hudgins is the Vice President for Government Relations and Policy at the International Sleep Products Association. Chris is responsible for all of ISPA's government affairs activities and serves as the face of the organization before policymakers. In 2013, Chris was integral in negotiating the enactment of the nation's first mattress recycling laws in California, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Chris also serves as the Vice President for Industry and External Affairs for the Mattress Recycling Council, the nonprofit organization created by the mattress industry to implement these laws. Chris previously handled government relations for the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers, and prior to that, the National Prostate Cancer Coalition. Chris also served on the staff of former U.S. Congressman and House Commerce Committee Chairman, Representative Tom Bliley. Chris is a graduate of the University of Richmond and lives in Washington, D.C. with his wife and son. Very impressive resumes, both of you. And I believe, Ryan, you're going to start off with your remarks?
Yes, I will.
Good.
All right. Next slide. First, I'd like to give you a brief overview of ISPA as well as our industry. Our organization was formed almost 100 years ago to serve the mattress industry. We were formed back in 1915. Today, about 95% of the U.S. manufacturers of mattresses are small businesses. 90% of the mattresses that we consume today are assembled here in the United States. We sell, in terms of numbers of units, we sell roughly 35 to 40 million units annually in the United States. And by units, I'm talking about both the mattress as well as the box spring or foundation. And the numbers fluctuate year to year depending on the economy and other factors. We estimate that approximately 20 million or more units, bedding units, are discarded annually, usually in connection with the replacement of an old mattress by a new mattress. What happens to used mattresses when they're discarded? Often the municipality will collect them, a retailer will collect them when they're delivering a new product to the consumer, or the consumer themselves will dispose of them through a landfill, in some states or communities a waste-to-energy facility, and in some areas as well a recycler. Unfortunately, some of them are also abandoned illegally. They become an eyesore in some urban areas as well as rural areas. And then some of them are also sent to companies called renovators that will sew a new cover onto the product and resell it into the marketplace. The mattress recycling industry today is comprised of 30 plus recyclers scattered around the United States. Most of these recyclers are nonprofit organizations. There are a few for-profit groups that have entered into this space. Most of the recyclers today use manual labor to tear apart the mattress and prepare the component materials for sale into scrap or recycling markets. Most of the recyclers today operate by charging the entity that provides the mattresses to them a processing fee. And those processing fees can vary widely depending on the quantity of products to be recycled and the location of the mattress recycler. Based on a survey we did a couple of years ago, those processing fees can range from roughly $5 to $50 per unit. This is a picture of some of the mattress recycling operations, the intake of the used products, the initial teardown or stripping of the product, a little bit of a glimpse of the foam materials that come off of these products. A lot of the soft goods then in the lower right corner are baled for transport to the companies that will then use the recycled materials to manufacture new products. I also want to give you a brief overview of what the commodities are that are found in the discarded products. One thing to bear in mind is that there's a fair variety of materials used in mattress construction. There's also a fair range in terms of age groups that we're dealing with for these products. Some discarded products are relatively new, maybe produced in the last 5 years or so, but many of them are quite old. I've seen product coming through that's 15, 20, even 40 years old sometimes coming through recyclers. But by and large, the mattress and the foundation is comprised of 4 basic categories of material. About 90% of the mattresses sold today have steel inner springs in them. These are coils of steel springs that are usually linked together. That material is very readily recyclable. The big variable there is how much the material either has to be chipped or compressed for shipment to a scrap steel market. The closer you are to the scrap steel market, the less preparation is necessary of the material. The further you are from the market, the more you need to densify the material so that it's economical to ship. Another common component that we have in most mattresses that are recycled is foam. Most of the foam is polyurethane foam. That would include so-called memory foam. Memory foam is a type of polyurethane foam. We also have some latex foam in discarded mattresses. The foam can be shredded and then used to produce carpet padding, the underlayment for most residential and some business carpet installations. The foundations will contain wood oftentimes. That wood can be somewhat difficult to place in in recycling markets. It tends to be very narrow, short, and thin wood, so it's not useful for building construction. It also tends to be quite old and dry and can be brittle. And also it often is attached, the pieces are joined together by means of staples or nails. And those can be a problem in some reuse markets, recycling markets, and they're difficult to remove from the wood if the wood is shredded for some applications. And then finally, we have a variety of fiber, both in terms of fiber batting and in fabric. The outer covering of most mattresses is a fabric, and it's made of a variety of different types of fibers, cottons, wools, various types of synthetics and rayons. And then some of the upholstery material is also fiber, and that can also be from a variety of different types of sources. Those materials also can be difficult to place. While there are very viable used fiber markets that many of you on the call probably are much more familiar with than I am, the level of cross-fiber contamination that some of the purchasers of these materials require can tend to limit the markets for these types of fibers that can come from a variety of sources depending on the make and age of the mattress in question. Again, this is a view of some of the recycling operations. Upper left corner is these are bales of what we call quilt panels. They're the tops and bottoms of mattresses. They tend to be a composite of the outer fabric, a layer of padding, usually polyurethane foam or some a type of fiber batting, and then a backing material. Upper right-hand corner shows the box springs after they've been stripped of their outer fabric. Most box springs come with a steel wire construction atop a wooden frame, and the steel wire is very readily recyclable. The lower left-hand corner just shows a dismantling area where the reclaimed materials are baled and stacked against the wall. And then in the foreground, you see the tables on which the products are, in essence, filleted. Usually the recycler will cut off the top quilt panel and then remove the springs from the inside, and then recycle the rest of the covering as the bottom quilt panel. And then on the lower right-hand corner, you see those are primarily box springs in there. It looks like there may also be some inner springs mixed in as well. Again, the steel is readily recyclable. The wood is less so. Okay, Chris will take it from here.
Yeah, so this is Chris Hudgins. I'm going to talk a little bit about the current laws and what they entail. So last year in 2013, we worked with lawmakers, state and city officials, environmental groups, and other stakeholders in 3 states, California, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. And in all those states, we worked together to support mattress recycling laws. These were the first laws of their type in this country, and we supported each of these laws because they included and are funded through a visible point of sale fee. So in all of these states, once these programs are implemented, if you purchase a new mattress, you will see a fee that will be added to that purchase that will be used to fund mattress recycling in all of these states. And each of these states' laws are very similar in terms of how they work and how the program will be established. So to implement these laws, the International Sleep Products Association created the Mattress Recycling Council, and as you heard at the outset of the call, Ryan and I both share duties with each organization. But the Mattress Recycling Council is a national nonprofit. Its sole purpose is to design, implement, and administer these programs in each of these states. So it is a separate organization. It was created late last year. We have a website and address you can see there. So this organization is tasked with developing and running these programs, but we also want to promote consistency between each of the states. Each state will be run separately. It has its own funding, and that is separated, but at the same time it makes sense to kind of model these and keep them as consistent as possible to help keep costs down and make sure the programs are efficient and recycling as many mattresses as it possibly can. So in each of these states, the laws lay out a number of requirements for the mattress recycling programs. First and foremost, it has to manage discarded mattresses. The programs are funded by the MRC using the fee revenue. So as I stated earlier, a fee is charged on each mattress and box spring sold in the state. That fee is remitted to the MRC, and the MRC uses that funding. The programs have to provide collection or receipt of mattresses from municipal sites, retailers, other bulk generators such as hotels or boarding schools, colleges, that sort of thing. An important aspect to note in all of these programs is participation is completely voluntary. And when I say voluntary, that's with regards to recycling your mattresses. It is mandatory that the fee must be charged. But in all of these states, there is no municipality, retailer, or anybody else who is required to recycle a mattress. They are all make their own decision about whether they should participate in the program. That said, the program certainly offers savings and financial incentives. If you participate in the program, you're no longer paying disposal costs to get rid of your mattresses, so there is an incentive to participate in the program, but that's a decision that each party can make on their own. There's no requirement under these laws that anybody participate. As part of the program, we have to develop an education and outreach program. This is to help consumers understand the fee, their options for recycling mattresses, and that sort of thing. And we all the programs are overseen by state regulatory agencies. They approve the plan. We have to issue annual reports to them detailing the program's activities. So how does the program work? Well, the MRC establishes a recycling fee based on the cost that it determines, the cost that will be presented by recycling and collecting all the mattresses and administering the program. We propose that fee to state regulators, and then they approve the fee. Once that fee is approved and the program launches, retailers will charge the fee on each mattress unit sold in the state. And as Ryan discussed earlier, when we say unit, we mean a mattress and a box spring. So there is a fee charged on each of those. Once that fee is collected from a retailer, once a retailer collects that fee from a consumer, they remit the fees to the MRC on a regular basis, and then the MRC uses that funding to contract with recyclers, transporters, and collectors to facilitate mattress recycling. So we collect that money and pay that back out to our service providers. MRC does not do any physical recycling itself. It does not own any recyclers. It does not own trucks or transportation or anything like that. It's really more of an administrative body that facilitates this whole program. Next slide, please. So what about collection? When we talk about these new laws with folks, everybody seems to have a different idea of what this means and how it changes things. And we, in working on the laws, working with policymakers and legislators, we all agreed that there is a robust collection network right now for mattresses. What we're trying to do is make sure the mattresses that are collected are now recycled instead of going to the landfill. So the program will use existing collection methods whenever feasible. So if you're a regular consumer, there's probably not much going to change for you in terms of getting rid of your mattress. You may give it to a retailer when you buy a new one and they drop off the new one. You may take it to the transfer station yourself to drop off. You may have municipal curbside collection. That is all going to continue. The difference now is what happens to those mattresses after they're dropped off at those places, and that's where MRC comes in. We will work with a retailer to take the mattresses they collect from consumers. We'll work with the transfer station, give them a container on site that they could fill up with mattresses. MRC or MRC's contractor comes by, collects the mattresses, and takes them off to be recycling. So a consumer won't see much change. They will have additional options of where they can drop off a mattress to a recycler, drop them off there, and have them recycled. But for the most part, if they have a viable collection mechanism for their mattresses, that's going to continue. So as I mentioned, each state requires a plan that must be submitted and approved by the state regulatory authorities. You can see the timeline for each of those states now. None of these plans are active just yet. In July of this year, MRC submitted its first plan to the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. That plan is still being examined, but we expect it should be approved relatively soon, with the program launching in spring of next year. So that will be the first state. Once that program launches, that means that retailers will begin collecting the fee and mattresses will start being recycled under the program. Rhode Island and California are both roughly a year behind the Connecticut program. Both of those plans are due in July 2015, and if all the regulatory timelines keep to what they're prescribed, then those programs will both launch in spring of 2016. Next slide, please. So just talking quickly or briefly about Connecticut, since it's the only program that has been completely, or the program plan that has been submitted. Both Rhode Island and California are still in the works, but we submitted the plan in July, as I mentioned. We proposed a $9 per unit recycling fee. So the $9 fee is what a consumer will be charged on each mattress and box spring they purchase in Connecticut. And the basis of that fee was MRC looked at their cost to recycle. We did an RFP. We looked at the cost for recycling and transporting each unit, built in the administrative cost, the public education program, and looked at the number of units we expect to be sold in Connecticut, and that's how we got the $9 fee. And as I stated, we're still awaiting approval of that plan, but that should be hopefully complete soon. So for all states, we have a number of activities that we're undertaking to get various stakeholders involved in the program and meet their obligations of the law. Each of the laws required the industry to create these recycling programs, but there are requirements for retailers, renovators, and manufacturers in each of these states. The primary one for almost every state is registration. So we have set up a portal on the NRC website where manufacturers, retailers, and renovators can all go and register with the organization. We'll be collecting we'll be collecting the fee through that portal as well, developing a web payment portal where retailers will go on, enter how many sales they had in the previous month, and then remit their fees to the MRC. As part of that, we're developing some anti-fraud controls, both in terms of the fee as well as recyclers, and making sure that we have accurate reporting on how many units are being disposed of, how many units are being recycled, and then verifying that the various components, the wood, the fiber, etc., are actually recycled with downstream recyclers. And we're doing a great deal of consumer and industry outreach, lots of stakeholder meetings, events like this to get the word out about the program amongst various stakeholders. So where are our next steps? We're working to implement each of the state laws. As I said, Connecticut will be the first one to go live. We're holding a number of stakeholder meetings, educational sessions, and communicating with different constituencies. We have on-the-ground staff in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and California, and their main job is to go out and meet with municipalities and other folks, retailers, anybody who could possibly be interested in participating in the program in terms of recycling mattresses. Their job is to outreach to them, figure out what their needs are. Do they need a container? If so, how big? Do they need regular pickup? And help really drill down on the logistical issues in making sure the program works for all the participants. So we expect Connecticut to go live early next year. And right now we are not currently advocating for any new laws. We had 3 laws in 1 year, which is actually a pretty impressive feat. But of course, launching and implementing those laws is even more difficult. So right now we're focused on really making sure we get these 3 programs right and up and running in a consistent manner and a successful manner. So we're not currently looking at any other states. We want to get these programs running and make sure that they're working properly. So I believe that's it. Our contact information is on the next slide, and we're happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ryan and Chris. Those great presentations. And we're now going to field some questions for the presenters. If you do have a question, please enter them on the GoToWebinar dialog box. And I see we do have some questions already. So let me get to them. The first question, this is from a recycler in Utah, and they'd like to know if they've identified a recycler for latex foam.
Latex foam is a little difficult to recycle. There aren't any direct applications that we're aware of. The manufacturers of carpet underlay, though, although they want primarily polyurethane foam as their raw material for that product, they do accept some small quantities of latex foam. In most markets, latex foam will be only a small percentage of the foam taken off of used products. So it's a question that you as a recycler should raise with your used foam customer to see what percentage of latex foam they will allow in the materials you sell to them. So I don't know of in short, I don't know of a specific use for latex foam post-consumer, but it can be mixed in for at least some manufacturers of the carpet underlay.
Okay. The next 2 questions are similar, so I'm going to read both of them. What are the decontamination requirements for mattress materials and their handling in the dematching the manufacturing facility? And related questions, how do recyclers deal with bed bugs, filled mattresses, and other non-desirable things that would come from the take back versus disposal?
All right, that's a common question we get from companies that are interested in recycling. There are risks involved with using some of these materials. That because of bed bugs and other contaminants. That's one reason why manufacturers of new product don't want the old product coming into their factories or into their warehouses. But in a recycling environment, we've talked with a lot of long-standing recyclers. We've also consulted with entomologists, and the advice that we're getting is that provided that the product is being dismantled in an environment where you don't have to worry about it contaminating fabric or upholstered furniture or mattresses that are new, that the main thing you want to make sure is that your employees have a changing room where they can change from their street clothes into their work clothes, and the work clothes should either be laundered or at a minimum put through a dryer at the end of each shift. The heat in a dryer cycle is enough to kill any bed bugs or other contaminants, the bed bug eggs or anything else that might come onto that the employee might be exposed to during the work period. We're not aware of anybody talking about bed bug bites or anything like that during the work, during the workday. We have talked to some companies that are looking at heat treating the product before it comes into the dismantling operation, but the entomologists that we've consulted with say that's probably not necessary, and that just regular changing of clothes before and after each work shift should be sufficient to protect the employee and keep the employee from taking the contaminants home with him or her. Because you're working with steel and splintered wood and other products, certainly the recycler and the employees should have sufficient clothing and gloves and so forth to protect them from those types of sharp objects as well. But in terms of insects or bed bugs or other contaminants, the clothes changing and heat treating of the garments afterwards should be enough. At least that's what we're told by the entomologists.
Okay. What happens if a service provider charges more than the fee assessed?
So that it's kind of some common confusion. So the $9 fee only refers to, or the $9 fee in Connecticut, it could certainly be different in the other states, is only the fee that the consumer pays. There is no direct correlation between that fee and what is paid to a recycler. In other words, just because the consumer pays $9 on the new mattress doesn't mean that MRC is paying $9 to recycle that mattress. What MRC pays recyclers to process mattresses is based on an RFP process, closed bid process that MRC ran in Connecticut and will do probably early next year in Rhode Island and California. We allow service providers submit bids, and then looking at a number of criteria, including price, but not only price, we award the contracts based on the bids we get. So there is no direct correlation there. The correlation is how we get to $9 is based on how much we pay for processing, but that just because we pay, just because the consumer pays $9, that does not mean that the MRC is paying $9.
And a similar question, if it's voluntary, are there jurisdictions that don't offer a recycling option, leaving some consumers paying the fee but without any recycling option?
Well, there's certain the jurisdictions are not required to recycle. Some of them do, and if they are interested in being paid by MRC to do that, they can bid. But really, it's the MRC at MRC's expense, they collect the mattresses and get them to a recycler and has them processed. It is possible that a jurisdiction, for whatever reason, may not participate in the program, and that means if a consumer sends their mattress to that jurisdiction, it's not going to get recycled. However, a consumer in that area may decide, okay, I know my town doesn't participate, however, there's a recycler over here, I can get the mattress there and it will be recycled.
The fee would apply regardless to all
Yes.
sales within the given state.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other states close to mattress recycling laws?
At this time, we haven't seen any legislation introduced since 2013. I know there is interest in it and in other states or various communities, and we are in contact with a number of folks, and I think they all understand that we need to have the time to make sure to get these programs up and running and kind of work out the kinks before anybody else dives into new laws.
Okay, this is just a clarification. I think you were clear on it, but the $9 is charged for each, for the mattress and the box spring.
$9 for the mattress and then $9 for a box spring. So if you bought,
it's not $9.
set,
Yeah.
yes, it's $18. Correct.
Right.
One other thing to clarify is that is the fee for Connecticut. We will go through the same process in each of the other states, and they may be higher or lower depending on what our costs are in those states.
Yes.
Okay, this next question. You did mention some of the markets for the materials. Has MRC done any other work in developing additional markets for the materials and the mattresses?
We are doing some work. We are always on the look for new applications for our materials. We've consulted with some people in the geotextiles field because we think that perhaps the sub components of the quilt panels might be useful in that area. Those materials have some structural integrity to them. They're very absorbent. They could be good at holding soil or other materials in place if that was a relevant application. If there are consumers of post-consumer materials on this call that have some ideas on how we might or how our recyclers might better use the fiber, fabric, and wood that comes out of these used products, please contact us. We're always interested in learning more about that, and we would like to disseminate that information with our recycler community so that they can do a better job and be more profitable themselves. So we're open to new ideas, and please send them to us. That's one of the reasons we wanted to participate in this call today.
Okay, this question, I'm not sure if it's totally accurate, but I will state it anyway. And it's for Chris. With the state agencies handling the recycling plans on behalf of the industry, do they get a portion of the fees remitted to MRC?
Not directly. So just to kind of clarify how things work, the MRC is, an independent organization. It is a nonprofit, so we can't turn a profit or anything like that. The money does not at any time. Well, the money does not go through the state. The money comes directly to the MRC. The MRC's role with the state is really just one of oversight. We have to submit our plan, our program, and have that approved. We have regular budgets and audits and reports that we have to submit, but the money is all handled and processed through MRC. The one case where the state does receive some of the funding is in Rhode Island and California only. There are provisions in the law that require MRC to reimburse the state for state staff time in managing the program. So we will have to reimburse both those states for the cost of managing our program. That is not in the Connecticut law. There is no reimbursement to the state there. That's the only amount of the fee or the only amount of MRC's funding that goes to state hands.
Okay, this question I believe comes from Canada. Our local mattress recyclers struggle with pocket coil mattresses, which are the majority of their feedstock. Fabric pockets covering the metal coils are very difficult and costly to remove, and local metal recyclers refuse to accept the metal without removing the fire retardant fabric first. Will manufacturers redesign to facilitate the future disassembly and switch to a non-fire retardant fabric for the coils, given that the coils are already safely contained inside the fire retardant exterior mattress fabrics?
First off, I don't think the Canadian market is that different from the U.S. market. Pocketed coils should be a relatively small part of the market. Maybe there's something unusual in the community where this recycler is operating, but I I would be surprised. It should be a small part of the market. They can be a bit more difficult to deal with than regular innerspring units that don't have a pocketed coil feature. And there are discussions to talk about ways to try to improve the recyclability of these materials down the road. I'll be dealing with products that are 5, 10, 25 years old for some time, so this will be a challenge that recyclers will need to deal with. Some recyclers are able to get this steel out through a variety of means, shredding and other means, but that is one of the problems that recyclers will encounter as they recycle used mattresses.
And part of it is just really where you're located, and what the demand for steel is there. If there's a high demand, we know from some recyclers that they're willing to take pocketed coils either as they come out of the mattress or shredded, even if they're contaminated a little bit with foam and fabric. It all depends on where you are and what the need and how high the need is for steel in that area. Some localities this isn't an issue at all.
Okay. This question is, do you have any partnerships with universities? Campus move-outs generate a lot of mattresses.
We're in discussions to work on that. If there are folks on the call who are interested, please feel free to reach out to us. We know that's a constituency that we want to service. We've had some initial discussions with some schools in Connecticut about this, and we'll be kind of growing that as we move forward. And we're interested in doing it on a large program basis. So we would welcome any suggestions or interests that anybody may have.
And I'll follow up with an additional question. I live in a county where they have an annual cleanup, and they do accept mattresses. I believe now they're collected and consolidated and taken to a landfill. Would you be able to work with that type of program to help them, for example, to identify a market for recycling?
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we, as these states get up and running, we plan on doing community event days like that where we could, probably or hopefully drop a trailer, fill it up, and take it off to the recycler.
Okay. Now this is a particular question from Michigan. Are there any mattress recyclers in the state of Michigan?
There is one. It's in the Lower Peninsula, but in the north. If you go onto the ISPA website or the MRC website, we have a mattress recycler directory there. It's something that we offer free of charge, and I believe that there is a mattress recycler in Michigan located there. There was one in Gaylord, Michigan, but that one was sold out recently, and I don't remember where they reopened it. Nothing in the Detroit area, though, that I'm aware of.
Okay, here's a question from an online retailer. They sell products across the country. They don't want to pick up the mattresses, but they are looking for suggestions on who to partner with on a national basis. And I would think the first thing they do is join your organization, correct?
They can certainly contact us, and we direct them to the recyclers in the directory there. And if they are selling in Connecticut, Rhode Island, or California, we can certainly work with them to work out local arrangements there, since those will be the areas where we'll see the most intense activity, we think, in terms of recycling.
And that brings up one important thing that I want to clarify is, I spoke earlier that participation in this program is voluntary. There's no requirement that anybody recycle mattresses, and that is true. However, there is a requirement in the California law that went into effect in July of this year that any retailer delivering a new mattress consumer must offer to take the old one back. Now, there's no requirement that they recycle that mattress. They could discard of it however they feel they need to, but they do have to offer that option, which began in July. That does not apply to, in this instance, a internet sale that's delivered through a common carrier. It's only if you're delivering it through one of your trucks or contractors do you have to offer to take it back?
So if you're offering what's a so-called white glove service for setting up the mattress, then in California, you as an online retailer would have a free pickup obligation.
Okay. Does the MRC qualify mattress renovation as recycling?
Under the laws that have been enacted in these 3 states, renovators may continue to operate as they do, but they are not entitled to any of the renovated units would not be funded by MRC.
Okay. If the Connecticut program is the first to be implemented and still awaiting approval of the $9 unit recycling fee, how is MRC currently funding the recycling program?
Debt. Yeah, debt and loans. These laws being the first in the country, there did not exist an organization to do this. We created it, and as Ryan said, right now we're operating in debt under loans, and will be until we start getting funding in for each of the states.
Okay. Here's a 2-part question. Could furniture be dismantled and the foam be used in the same mattress, used the same as mattress foam? And can any of the products be recycled if they get wet and moldy?
I'll deal with the second question first, and it's a little bit of a sliding scale. I mean, it will depend on who the recycler's customer is in terms of foam consumption. We're certainly dealing with post-consumer materials, so there'll be dust mites, dust mite droppings. There'll be a lot of contaminants in them, and some of the used foam consumers will say we won't take molded product or certain other contaminated materials, really wet product and so forth. So the recycler needs to know their customer base and understand what will be accepted. We anticipate that there will be a small number of mattresses that are just so far gone that they will have to wind up in a landfill, and they can't be, some or all of them cannot be used for any further purpose. And in terms of, was the first question whether the foam could be reused on a mattress? Is that what your question was?
Well, from furniture, a similar type material from furniture.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay. Next question. Do you anticipate that these laws will impact the way that mattresses are designed to increase recyclability?
Well, mattresses are already highly recycled, highly recyclable. I realize that we didn't include this, but we probably should. Mattresses are already 90 to 95%, in some cases even 98% recyclable. So there's really not much further you can go. The reason that these programs have been developed is not because mattresses aren't recyclable. It's because it's labor intensive to do that, and because it's so labor intensive, it ends up being costly, and you can't get enough out of the materials you recycle. You can't get enough value out of that to cover your cost of actually breaking down the mattress. So I think we're already there. Frankly, the mattresses can be almost completely recycled. We just needed a system that could help subsidize that practice.
Okay. This question is, will the MRC help a startup mattress recycling center?
We will certainly, we're a good source of information. We can provide you with a would-be mattress recycler with contacts in the industry, both in terms of sources of materials, other up-and-running recyclers who can provide experience to provide talk about their experiences and pitfalls, potential customers for the used material. We're not in a position to financially support startups in this area, but certainly we can talk through a lot of the business challenges and help steer them in the right direction for equipment, sources of discarded mattresses, and sources of customers for the recycled components.
And I would encourage those who are interested in that into looking at various programs in these states and any state for potential capital or investments or low-cost loans, that sort of thing. Certainly I know there's programs like that in California. and I believe in Connecticut as well, that will provide low-cost financing to companies looking to get into these types of practices.
There also is one group that has developed a good model for mattress recycling and is licensing the concept to other potential recyclers.
Okay. Yeah, this question has to do with curbside recycling. Is there any funding for equipment out there to do curbside collection?
There is, not from NRC. Again, I would suggest looking at possible state grants and other items like that.
Okay. We still have a bunch of questions. This is probably the most we've ever had for a webinar. So I'm going to keep going if you guys don't mind.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, this question is, have you considered a tiered fee system that charges more for mattresses with designs or materials that impede recycling? Do you anticipate that manufacturers will redesign your products? We've heard that question before.
Yes, I think we addressed that part. The laws are specific on this. In Connecticut, Rhode Island, there can only be one fee. In California, there can be up to 2 fees, but those can be based on size. We can't use other determinations to set those fees.
And one thing is we want to keep it simple. We want it to, the process to be as simple to implement as possible, and so that argues in favor of a one or at most a two tier process.
Okay, I think you might have answered this one. Have you found a recycler for cotton?
Yes, there are several consumers or purchasers of post-consumer cotton. One of the challenges, though, is that sometimes the cotton fiber will be commingled in a mattress with other fiber blended with it if it's deliberate, or in the recycling operation, the fibers can get mixed. Cotton is one of those fibers, as far as we're aware, where the market for post-consumer cotton demands only cotton fiber, only very little contamination with other fibers. So that's one of the challenges here. Some recyclers are able to segregate the cotton quickly as it comes out of the mattresses, and have had relatively good luck with supplying cotton that is pure enough, and by pure I don't mean free of dirt or consumer soiling, but free of other fibers, man-made fibers or other natural fibers. But it is a challenge trying to get cotton of the quality or cleanliness that the cotton market demands. If there are people on this call who are prepared to purchase mixed fiber lots, we'd like to talk to them, because I think there's quite a bit of fiber that will be generated by recyclers that could be useful to them.
Okay, this question has a concern about fire retardants. Are there worker health and safety issues, and are there impacts on the secondary use markets?
The types of fire retardants, there are a number of different fire retardants that are used in consumer products. Our products are subject to 2 fire standards. One is an old one from the 1970s that dealt with cigarette ignition fires, where people would fall asleep in bed with their lit cigarette, and it would cause a fire. And then more recently, there are what we call an open flame ignition standard, where a child playing with matches or a candle falling into a bed or something like that would ignite the fire. The physics of a smoldering fire versus a small flame fire are very different. To address those types of fire standards, the industry does not treat our foam unlike some other products. So we're not dealing with any of the polyurethane or foam fire retardant issues that people might be reading about in the press. The foam is the fuel in our fires, so to meet these standards, we enclose the foam that is in the support and the upholstery material in our products with a fabric that has certain properties for either keeping the heat out of the foam or keeping oxygen from getting into the foam. And the materials that we're using for those purposes has been examined by the Consumer Product Safety Commission, which administers these 2 fire standards. and they've looked at the safety of those materials, and they concluded that those materials are appropriate for the consumer, for the factory worker, as well as for the environment. So we don't see that these the materials that have developed the foam in mattresses today as being a toxicity risk to the worker dismantling the used mattresses. Interestingly enough, in talking with some potential consumers for the used materials, the fabrics that we're using around the foam could be a positive attribute in the resale market. Right now, they don't comprise a large enough percentage of the used mattresses that are coming into the recyclers. These new standards went into effect only in 2007, so we have roughly 7 years worth of use of those materials, and with each year we'll see more and more of those coming into the market, but those potentially have added value in the market because there may be some applications where scrap materials that have FR properties could be a benefit. But these are products that don't pose a risk to the consumer or to the worker that's handling them.
Okay, this is another bed bug question. I thought we had that answered, but this asks if there's a written protocol for dealing with bed bugs at a recycling facility.
There isn't a standardized one, but different recyclers have developed their own practices.
Okay. Okay, follow up to the voluntary question. What is your opinion about making it required so that there is a service to all consumers? Would you entertain that model as a law in a new state?
That's kind of, I don't see that as our role. Our role is developing the program and making sure that everybody has the opportunity to participate. I would really leave that up to policymakers whether that should be a mandatory requirement or not. I would suspect, and I've, from my experiences in those 3 states, that there are communities that don't want to participate, and I think they would have concerns about such a mandatory requirement.
Mm-hmm. This question asks if there's any plans for a recycling program in Indiana, and I guess the question too is maybe you can say, is there anything out there in other states, anything in the legislative sessions that are on the horizon?
Not at this time, but if as Ryan mentioned, if you go to either the Mattress Recycling Council website or ISPA's website, there is a directory of recycling recyclers, mattress recyclers throughout the country. There's more than 30 now. I think just I came to ISPA about 7 years ago, and there were probably under 10. So it's a very growing, very fast-growing industry, and certainly that these programs will help increase the amount of mattress recycling, but there are opportunities out there even without legislation.
I'm not sure if you can answer this, but this question is curious as to what's happening in Europe with regard to mattress recycling.
There is a system in place in Europe that is similar in some respects to our what is occurring in the 3 states that we talked about today. In France, there the government takes a much more active role. The fees that are collected at retail go directly to the French government, and the French government then, as I understand it, acts more or less the way that the NRC is operating. In the UK, there is no government-mandated recycling, to my knowledge, but there are a couple of mattress recyclers there that are in operation. We're also aware of other voluntary or non-mandatory recycling that's going on in Canada and Australia and perhaps other markets. And if there are other people on the call here that are aware of recycling that's going on in other markets, we'd be curious to find out more about that. I also know in the Netherlands, I think the waste-to-energy process is much more frequently used there, and I think a lot of the mattresses that are discarded in the Netherlands because of the nature of their geography. The landfill, I don't even know if they have landfills, but I think that the discarded product is incinerated there, and then the heat is captured for energy production.
Okay, this isn't a question, just a comment that this recycler has had some luck in selling the shoddy cloth as moving blankets to self-movers and small moving companies.
Oh, good.
Good to know.
Okay, this is about mattresses that have been dumped illegally or have been scavenged or ripped apart to take the metal out. I guess there's just a comment really as what can you do with something like that on a recycling basis?
Well, certainly if a mattress has been, number one, by having these programs in place that are free of charge to anybody who wants to participate in these 3 states, hopefully the cost urge, the cost savings urge behind illegal mattress dumping will be gone. The consumer or the landlord or the whatever the source is of the used mattress will use the system that will be developed in these states to recycle the products for free. So hopefully that will help address illegally dumped mattresses. We're also looking at whether to have community cleanup weekends or other types of events that will attack these types of problems too. Certainly the steel is the most valuable piece of a mattress, so if we're just having the shell basically that's left behind, it's of less commercial value, but at the same time it's much easier to pick up and compact and get rid of. If it's not molded or wet, there are recyclable materials still in that potentially, so that's still a candidate even if the steel is gone.
This question basically says that their information from the Steel Recycling Institute indicates the mattress wire vaporizes in a steel mill furnace, making the material a low-grade demand item. They just want to verify or...
Again, I think that depends on where you are. Some recyclers can send it over just shredded. Some need to bale it. Some may not have anybody to take it. It all depends on where you are and what the demand is in that area.
But certainly, I think most of the recyclers depend largely on the revenue they get from the steel, and so they're certainly finding readily available customers for their product. It is the steel scrap market can be quite volatile though, and prices shoot up and fall on a regular basis. So that is one of the problems with the material. But as far as I'm aware, they're finding ready customers when the market is good.
Right. And here's a response from Michigan. The Bay Area Recycling for Charities, based in Traverse City, Michigan, services the entire Midwest for mattress recycling.
Okay, good.
All right. How do you foresee partnering with transfer stations in Connecticut who say that they don't have the space for containers to hold the mattresses?
Then we want to. We're looking at all options. We want to make sure it works. So if you don't have room for a trailer, we do offer will offer trailers of various sizes. But if you don't have room, I think we could certainly explore. And what we're looking at is a milk run system where we would send out a recycler, or a recycler would send out his trucks, make a couple stops with various towns and cities that don't have the space for it.
Okay. This question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We have a coordinator in Connecticut who would be happy to meet with any transfer station that has that problem. If they could contact either Chris or myself, and we'll hook you up. She's in the process of meeting with many of the municipalities in the state right now to work out these logistical details. So if there's somebody with a particular problem right now, we'd be glad to have her contact you.
Yes.
This question asks for the name of the group licensing the recycling process to others.
It's Springback Recycling. It's a group headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay. bear with me while I screen these calls.
Sure.
Okay, I think that's it. Again, thank you to the audience for those great questions, and thank you, Ryan and Chris, for the answers. Again, like all the webinars in this series, this webinar has been recorded and will be made available for viewing via YouTube links on the National Recycling Coalition and Recycling Market Center websites. Thank you again for joining us. We hope you will join us for next month's webinar, and please visit our respective websites for schedule updates. Again, thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Chris. And thank you, audience. And have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.